Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on Mobile EAM series. Instant ROI with fully configurable, quickly deployable, and high-performance mobile work solution. So let's get started by introducing our experts. Sven Bergstrom is Global VP of Sales at Innovapptive. Sven comes with a background in integrating SAP business data with geospatial data at companies like Critigen and SAP. At SAP, he most recently co-founded and led a cross-organizational incubation team which successfully catalyzed the emergence of spatial solutions across such industries as utilities, public sector, oil and gas, and transportation. Sven was also a solutions manager in the IBU for utilities, where he focused on bringing analytic solutions and the SAP HANA appliance to market. Sri Karthik is Senior VP for Business Development and Marketing at Innovapptive. His focus includes business strategy, product positioning, and the development and deployment of industry-specific solution portfolios. His experience spans around customers in the consumer products, retail, oil and gas, utilities, chemical and life sciences industries, and working with clients from different geographic regions. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today. We are looking forward to hearing your insights, so let's get to it. I'll hand it over to Sven to kick things off.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining this webinar. We appreciate your time and look forward to sharing our perspective on enterprise asset management with you. We will step through some of the trends and opportunities that we see, talk about the IoT and how it is changing asset management, and then shift into really kind of a paradigm shift in the SAP user experience that is now available for companies to adopt, talk about mobility and really kind of explore the new possible, introduce you to RACE, Rapid App Configurator Engine, and how that redefines agility, show you an actual demonstration of that product, and then leave you with some key takeaways after some questions and answers. So with that, let's get right into the first slide. Connected, connected, connected. This is certainly the theme that we are keep hearing about in the industry, in the market. There is lots of promise attached to the vision of connected, whether or not that is productivity gains through streamlining tasks or providing more and better information to the people doing the work, connecting business processes that cross boundaries, multidisciplinary people in the field is a topic. And we are starting to see that the best firms that are adopting mobility are reaping some of the benefits. We will discuss some of the aspects of how to really unlock the value in connected and how to materialize some of the value that right now people believe is out there but hasn't really been realized as of yet. Next slide, please. So in asset management, data certainly is a big driver. We're using analytics to take a look at historic performance of assets, people, and processes. Big data is giving us the ability to be forward-looking and do more predictive aspects. Internet of Things is driving more connected assets to the business processes, giving us even more information. And these insights are all being generated. And in order to really make use of those insights, you have to be able to communicate them to some people. The people in the field, the field technicians, would be kind of an obvious recipient of such information, so they can take action that creates value for the organization. But if you think about the process more holistically, you will also recognize that there are managers part of the process chain that approve work orders and that approve purchase requisitions, things that in some cases slow down, or if completed in a fast cycle time, speed up the process. And so mobility is something that is relevant really kind of across that entire workflow, certainly with the field technician, but also with the managers that enables the workers to do the work with approvals and authorizations. So when we talk about the end user, and if we say mobility is the key to unlocking value, then the user should and needs to be the center of attention. And the users in today's world have certain expectations from their personal life experience with information technology. And so people expect a high-performing application. They expect easy access to guided procedures. We expect that the experience is consumer-like. And we expect seamless online-offline capability. These are all aspects that drive an awesome user experience, and that is really the standard that we need to achieve in the corporate world, because we are experiencing and choosing to engage with the type of applications in our personal life that meet that awesome threshold. We also have to be flexible back one more slide, please, sorry. We have to be flexible in the kind of operating systems and devices that we support. In a couple of slides, I'll talk about some of the drivers as well that relate to the devices that are coming to market and the price points as they are dropping. And we have to be able to access multiple backend systems. The user does not and should not care where the information really is being retrieved from, where it is getting posted. That is something that should be seamless behind the scenes. The user should really only have a simple user interface that presents integrated information coming from a backend system like SAP Plant Maintenance. And if you're in an environment where map-based information is important, and you have an enterprise GIS, well then the map-based UI and the layers of information that come from an enterprise GIS system should and need to be reflected in a seamlessly integrated user experience for the user. So circling back on the business justification, again, just like we are all aware and keep hearing that connected is the theme of the day, we're very much aware that we have an aging physical asset infrastructure in most of the Western nations, across many industries, that we have a workforce that is going to lose significant and important knowledge and skills when the baby boomer generation enters the next phase of their life. Globalization continues to be a pressure point for virtually all industries, and compliance with industry and government regulations is just par for doing business. This is something that is not optional; it's a requirement, and continues to be so going forward. Green sustainable operations, again, that's also something that we strive for, and health and safety in many industries is really kind of a number one company mantra. It is again not negotiable, not optional. It is very much a core aspect of many companies. All this puts pressure on the cost of doing business, and So the question that we really have to answer ourselves is, how do we control the assets and remain profitable? How is that done? And so we go full circle back to the question. The answer is connected, connected, connected. And then our perspective is that if you're talking about connected, 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 and visibility, control, and automation, you really go right back to you have to have mobility as the key enabler. That is where information touches the people in the field doing the work, and that's where the materialization of the value can really happen. I will jump into IoT briefly here. The next slide just shows something that all of us, again, have seen over and over, the number of connected devices. Next slide, please. The number of connected devices continues to explode. The price of sensors and wireless technologies continues to drop. That certainly is fueling the networked economy. We have seen this pattern before, and so we have high confidence that the network economy will materialize. That means that there will be sensors everywhere feeding information back into systems, and that is just a new reality. On the next slide, you will see that this really will allow us to go from a reactive to a proactive and predictive enterprise asset management approach. So the question really is, are you listening? And IoT will help us achieve that objective, to be able to listen to each and every equipment, piece of asset that is out in the physical world. But again, we come back to, if we're listening, what are we doing with the information that we are receiving? Next slide, please. And here's an example of in our own personal life, where Philips and Nest have provided us with, in essence, these connected devices in our home. And you'll notice that on the right side there is the phone. So the phone is really that is the point of engagement for us as consumers. It is what we carry around. It's where we are able to adjust the temperature in our home before we arrive. It's where we're able to check on the operating performance of our home. And so if this is what's happening in our personal life, and companies like Philips and Google Nest are driving this, then it is just a question of time when it comes to the corporate world in the same manner. And the red thread in all these slides that I just showed and talked about is that at the end of the day, you have people in the field performing work, and mobility is the enabler to materialize and realize the value. Historically, in the past, there have been challenges related to the devices. Ruggedized devices were expensive. Lots of adoption of the iPad as a cheap throwaway kind of device, but it lacked some of the peripherals that might be relevant for the worker in the field to feel like the tool that they are given is really fit for purpose. Quite frankly, hard-coded applications that are not tailored to the user in the field are also limiting the user adoption of the tools that were provided in the past. And we have engaged with a number of clients where they have tried to mobilize workflows and get field workers to adopt new tools, and the experience was not great in some of those early attempts. One of the things that we have really found is that if you're able to tailor the experience for different workers to a more granular degree, And if you're able to not only solicit user feedback, but also then do something with the feedback to make the solution, the application, work better for the field worker, that's when you get user adoption, and only then do you materialize the value that is, oftentimes only on paper. So with this, I will hand it off to Sri Karthik. He will talk about the paradigm shift in the SAP user experience.
Thank you, Sven. Thanks for your insights on what's changing and where the enterprise world is heading to. So I'm going to focus a little bit on the actual user experience side of SAP EAM, right? So this is kind of everyone that's been in the SAP world for the last 10 years or so. This is something that you must be pretty familiar with, right? The changing phase of the user experience within SAP, especially around the EAM applications, right? So it started with R3 ECC, then you had web screens leveraging WebDim Pro. SAP recently introduced Personas and Fiori, but where we are right now is we are in a position to leverage consumer-grade mobile solutions, and that is because the devices are cheap, data is cheap on the edge, right, on the field for your field workers. So that means it is left to the IT organizations to enable their users to consume that information that's sitting in SAP on the edge, and that's where the type of applications that are out there today are more consumer grade like, and you'll see that in the direction that SAP is going with their strategic investments. You'll see that user experience is the focus, and native apps is also the focus with SAP. The other thing that's driving mobility and EAM is mobile technology. Over the last 10 years, there's been significant change in the technology available to SAP customers to leverage mobility. So it started with the agent-free platforms that SAP acquired a few years back. Then the rebranding of that to the SAP Mobile platform with other added functionalities from Sybase, some functions that SAP developed, and now we're at the SAP HANA Cloud Platform, which is basically platform as a service offering that enables a lot of capabilities to leverage to build the next generation of applications. So some of the key points that customers looking to go mobile on the EAM side should keep in mind is what is that technology where you should be investing your time and money to enable your users, right? Is it a proprietary technology like agent-free, or it's something more open standards like OData? Because, and look at what SAP is developing on, right? We have on the HANA Cloud Platform, you have your Internet of Things services, IoT services, the predictive services, and all the HANA spatial elements are all built on the HCP technology, right? And then, with the Apple partnership, SAP is driving to a more native application. So one of it's going back to the native applications, and then that new SDK is on the SAP HANA Cloud Platform, right? And then we're entering the paradigm of codeless configuration, right? Which is basically SAP has certain tools. There's certain partner developed tools where customers are able to accelerate their development and deployment timelines on the technology. So I want to point out an interesting quote by Steve Lucas, who's the president of SAP's Enterprise Platform, right? Where he said, HCP is the de facto standard platform for extending SAP applications, period, end of story. So that is, SAP has established their direction for the next few years, and you'll see the innovations coming from SAP on the relevant technology as well. So we spoke about, what's the user experience change. We spoke about the technology change, right? But end of the day, it's all about user experience, right? You could, have the best technology solution and the best user and the best, tools there, but if the user experience and adoption is not there, then it doesn't drive return on investment. It doesn't drive value to your business, right? So based on experience and surveys to users, especially in the EAM space, some of the expectations on the end user side are online and offline access, right? Data validation, so that they're easily able to enter data and it's accurate. Role-based security and authorization, so that they only get access to features that they use. Elimination of paper, data capture with technology, barcode scanners, geo tagging and geo coding of data within the application, right? And support for multiple devices, map-based interfaces. So these are some of the user experience and role-based enhancements that actually drive adoption. It drives value to the end user. So taking all this into consideration, is extremely important as you chart out your user experience and mobile strategy for EAM, right? So with that, I want to present to you. So one of the agenda items is, what's new? What else is out there in terms of a mobile EAM solution, right? So the solution that I'm going to focus on today is the mWorkOrder, which is an SAP certified mobile EAM solution, right? So we'll focus on the different functional aspects, the technology aspects, and then the integration aspects of this the mobile solution, right? So it offers out-of-the-box integration with SAP Plan Maintenance, all along work orders, notifications, time capture, all your technical objects, master data management for SAP PM, measurement and inspection rounds, integration to SAP materials management and inventory management to manage your spare parts availability, attachment functionality, two-way synchronization, and integrated barcode reading. So this is kind of the solution that's going to be the focal point today, which I will be presenting a demo of. From a technology standpoint, it's important because we need to align with where the direction that SAP is going and where the core of future SAP innovations is going to lie. So as a result, we made sure that the solution works on the cloud as well as on-premise. So you have cloud-based deployment leveraging SAP HANA Cloud Platform or an on-prem on SMP. And some of the core technology features that I'll focus on is tailor user experience. That is important in leveraging that role-based user experience for the end user, right? So if you have different roles within your organization, it's important for the planner to have let's say more features and access than your technician on the field. So it's important to generate that role-based user experience and make sure that's available to the end user, right? Configurable performance, because performance is key, because if the user has to wait for more than 5 seconds, the odds are he'll lose interest in using the application. So performance and leveraging the SAP technology is what drives performance, be it an online, offline, seamless integration to seamless switching between online and offline modes, right? In terms of multiple devices, right, that is key, because the era of just a single device, a single rugged handheld device for users to do their job function is gone. Devices are cheaper, so it's necessary to support multiple platforms. So as a result, you'll see full support on Apple, Android, and Windows. In addition, this is one of the solutions that it's available as a native application on your mobile form factors, so Apple, Android, and Windows. But it's also available on SAP UI5. What that means is you can, as SAP user experience changes, we can run this on desktop user interface using UI5 technology and embed this in your Fiori launchpad. So if your strategy is Fiori, you still have the answer. A mobile experience, a native mobile experience on tablets, as well as a Fiori-based desktop user experience. And the other side of things is integrated technologies, because EAM is all about connecting to other systems we saw, how we can integrate to the IoT side of things. One of the, key investments in most asset-intensive organizations is the GIS. So, out of the box, there's multiple options for GIS integration, leveraging, the key players in the map and the GIS space, GE Small World, Esri, Intergraph, Spatial Info. So, the solution has the capability to integrate all that. And then what it gives you is a configurable element where you can configure base maps, feature layers, GIS data for offline capability, geotagging, and then a map-based user interface to drive functionality for your end users. Now, what I'm going to talk about next is a technological innovation that we have developed on SAP technology to drive instant adoption of mobile, right? So one of the questions that always get asked is, what there's speed of deployment, and then there's meeting my business users' goals. So that's where I'm going to introduce what we call as RACE, or Rapid App Configurator Engine, right? It enables your IT teams to be fast and be agile. So what it is basically, and why it matters for your mobile EAM deployment, is we've simplified implementation for SAP Mobile EAM. So you can adopt a mobile solution in about 8 to 10 weeks for that's integrated to your SAP EAM and planned maintenance process. It's a code-free admin toolkit that you can use to your IT teams, and your business super users can configure, customize the application to meet specific needs. As requirements change, as business processes evolve, you're sure that your business users are going to come and approach you for other changes in the application, right? So it gives you that flexibility where you can listen to your users and then incorporate the changes that they ask. And that cycle time is a matter of a few days. You don't have to wait for weeks. You don't have to wait for another project, another implementation cycle to adopt those changes. But it's something that you can deliver to your business instantly, right? And the other thing is, we spoke about multiple platforms, multiple devices, but how do you manage change on all these platforms, right? So what we've done with RACE is consolidated change management with one tool. So RACE can configure and customize native mobile apps on iOS, Android, and Windows, as well as your browser-based SAP UI5 applications that run on your Fiori Launchpad. So one change, and that disperses across all the multiple platforms. So end of the day, it's time to market and time to value, and realizing a return on investment that doesn't take years, but instead it's something that you can achieve in about 6 to 8 months. And that's essentially the value that RACE brings. And some of the features, functionalities that RACE provides. I'm going to go, part of the demo today, I'm going to focus on a few of these items, but in the interest of time, I'll just talk about a few of these. So you can customize modules. So what that means is user access is configurable. You can customize how data is captured, whether it's drop-downs or barcodes or text. You can configure that. You can make fields security relevant so that they're only displayed if the user has the relevant access. You can add new fields. You can validate based on security. You can add business logic. You can add brand new screens. You can create forms on the fly so that if you have custom processes or paper-based forms that go along with your technician, you can add those forms, build those forms within the application. And finally, you can also add new transactions, which is important in the SAP world because there's no SAP deployment that is 100% standard, right? So everyone has some level of customization. So any custom transactions can be built into the solution, again, without changing the code base of the application. With that, I'm going to switch to a demo of the application. So as far as the demo goes, we'll focus on two main agenda items on the demo. The first one is the mobile application itself. So focus on the mobile solution. And then the next point would be on the configurability aspect, that is the RACE. So for the solution itself, I'm going to focus on just some standard processes in the in a typical maintenance technician's lives, right? So processing work orders, processing notifications, your timesheets, equipment or functional location, inspections, usage decisions. These are key functions, right? So if you see the dashboard, it's a scrollable dashboard, interactive, that users can click on and experience, go to specific items. You can retrieve work orders. You can search for items. So it's fully fuzzy search capable. You'll see the different icons that signify what the status of the work order is. So this is, it's configurable again there. I can do a fuzzy search, key in a word, it'll search across multiple fields, filter my data across those fields. Again, from the field point of view, all the fields are configurable. You can go view notifications from work orders, so interaction from one screen to another is extremely easy. I can go back on my work orders. It displays all the data that is relevant to a user performing, his actions, right? Be it the operations, be it the components, and then the transactional posting is fast. So when I post a transaction, the interaction with SAP is real time, so you don't have to wait for any process. So here I'll process an operation. So I'm going to do a time confirmation. There's different ways to do time confirmation. I can do automatic time confirmation. So I can click on play. It records the start time. As I'm, complete my task, I can hit stop. It posts the confirmation in real time. So you'll see the status change from released to confirm. Then there's also another way to do time confirmation, which is a manual confirmation, where I can click on the edit field and I can key in my time that I spent on that operation. I can put in the time and then store that within the application and then post to SAP. You can see that the interaction is real time with SAP. So it's posting to SAP in real time. You can add operations if needed. So we've simplified the whole addition of operations. You can have a form for the operations, or you can pull operations from task lists, right? So either a general task list or a functional location-based task list or an equipment task list. It's choice of the user. So it'll retrieve the task list all from the backend in real time, present the user with the different task lists, and then the operations within those task lists. So if there's a specific operation, you can easily add that operation within the application. Components, full integration with the material management side of SAP. So you can add a component pretty easily. So you can look up plants, you can look up storage location, you can search for very different materials, and then add the material. So here, once you put in your quantity and type in storage location, it has the ability to do real-time inventory checks. So what that means is, if there's spare parts needed to do a job, users know, is it available, where is it available, and do basically execute that. You can also do real-time material, goods issue, receipt postings. So if you want to post a receipt, it's it can be done with a single click. So in this case, I can click on the truck, do a goods receipt, and then you'll see that that material document is created in SAP in real time and presented back to the user. Has full-blown attachment functionality, so you can view attachments, be it PDFs, PRT documents, or even SAP Visual Enterprise documents. So 3D drawings, you can explode them, view different views within the application, so that the full attachment functionality. You have the ability to add custom forms. So if you have custom forms, maybe a signature capture form, you can add that. And as you post data to that, it actually captures the data in the form, stores it, posts the attachment to SAP, and all this running in real time. So that's kind of walkthrough of the end-to-end functionality for a typical work order process. at a very high level. Some of the other things that I'll show you is your notification processing. So users have access to view notifications, create notifications, because it's important, to be able to capture problems with ease and then transmit that back to SAP so it can be action. So you can add items on your notification. So this is all interacting in real time with a live SAP system. So you'll see in terms of the speed of the transactional processing, it's extremely fast, which is important for the user experience. So you can create notification tasks based on predefined codes or based on free text. So if you don't have codes defined in SAP, you can just add free text notification tasks. You can add activities. So again, it could be predefined activities that you have stored, or you can add long text-based driven activities as well. Has full attachment capture functionality, so I can take a picture or choose from a data repository, maybe Dropbox. Here I'll take a picture of my keyboard, and then I can rename the file to give it the appropriate names, so that when it synchronizes to SAP, it has that information. Then I can post this information to SAP in real time, and then the attachment is posted to SAP. It has map functionality, so if the locations are available on notifications, you can view that on maps as well. So transition from a notification to work order can be done with a single click. So I push the button there to generate a work order. I set up certain basic fields. Some of the fields are copied over from a notification. So this is how easy it can be to say convert a notification to a work order. So with basically just a few clicks, all my data is defaulted. You can set up assignment here. So if you want to change your assignment, maybe assign it to a different work center or a different end user, you can do that. And then you can post the work order into SAP. So it takes about less than a second to create the work order in SAP in real time. Next thing is the integration of the maps. So you can drive action from maps. So the maps are not just display, but you can drive functional transactional data from the map. So here, I have a few work orders and notifications available on the map. I can pull in, my notifications or equipment or functional locations. So in this case, I have an equipment which I can trigger. So I can trigger my equipment. I have my details on the equipment. So basically, I'm driving action from the map. So if there's a failure on the equipment, I can directly go into create a notification with just 2 clicks from my map, and then I'm on the screen to create a notification. I can select the type of issue on that piece of equipment, and then I can post this notification to SAP in real time. So it's the speed of access and the speed by which data is pulled, and the user experience for the end user is magnified, right? So that's some of the core functionality that I touched upon. The other side of things is the configurability. So here, what you see on the background is the RACE configuration toolkit. So you'll see, gives you the ability to configure different functionality within the application. So you can go in and turn on or turn off, activate different functionality. So this is where the tailored user experience comes into play. So you can provide users with the functions that align with their roles. So I can go and turn off some features, functionalities. I can look up specific features, right? So I don't want to give my user create access, so I can go in and remove create work orders and notifications. So if you notice, the plus sign here, that's where you can focus on, and you'll see how that goes away, because that's the create screen, right? I can also set my access based on SAP security objects, so be it transaction code or user groups, roles, so you have flexibility there, right? So this is based on transaction code, and it's connected to IW31, 32, and 33. I can also do performance-based configuration. So it has configurable performance settings. So you can decide at a functional level, right? You can go to each individual element on the left and decide, how you want to synchronize data from the mobile device to backend SAP. So it can be done based on, like a manual synchronization. It could be push or fetch. So you can define a time limit. It could be based on the device or user profile. So let's say, for example, if you select push for work orders, you can set up a time interval. So maybe 30 seconds is, how often you want to push data from SAP to the device. Again, that's real time. So every time there's a change, you can configure, how you want to get that data pushed, right? So I'll show you the change here. So I can go refresh my screen based on the changes I made. So I'm just going to tailor the user experience to a different user, right? So now what's going to happen is it's going to realign the screen based on my configuration changes. So it took away some of the functionality. It removed the ability to create work orders, so I don't have that plus sign there anymore. It removed all the other features. And going into the work order, the feature functionality of the application within that particular element still exists. I'm going to show another aspect here, which is the ability to add fields, right? So typically, adaptability to business change is key. And this is where, what happens if your users, they ask for additional field on the form, right, on any screen. It's the ease of which you can add that field is, again, redefined with RACE. So I can, to add a field, I can go into the extensions module within the RACE toolkit. I can say, let me add a field here. So the way the application is built is a very modular and screen-based approach. So I can select my module name, and I can select my screen name, select an SAP table. So you can either add a standard SAP field or a Z field or a custom field from a custom table. So you have flexibility on the type of field. So you can easily add custom fields in less than a minute on the application. You can define custom field descriptions. You can define which screens you want to make the field available. You can give custom labels, custom UI labels, so that if there's certain business terminology that you want to incorporate in the application, that is possible. You can define UI positions where the field is stored, where the field is going to appear on the form. And there's various other features like UI validation, so that even in an offline mode, there's data integrity is maintained with a validated process. So if you have validation rules, you can respect those validation rules, even when there's no connection to SAP. So let me quickly save this form to add this field. So the field gets saved, so you'll see the webinar custom plan. So that's the field that I added on here. So the next time the user launches on the mobile app, they launch the same screen. So they just go back to that screen. So you don't have to redeploy the application. You don't have to reinstall the application for the user. So it's important from a change management point of view, how you push those changes to your users. It's all dynamic in nature. So when the user refreshes the application, goes back into the same screen, they'll have the ability to go into that form, and then they'll see the new field. So I go from having 6 fields to about 7 fields there in real time. So that's some of the features, functionality from a demo point of view, to kind of walk you through what you can expect from one of the like a new age solution, but where the focus is on user experience and performance of the application. With that, come to what towards the end of the webinar. So focus on what are some of the key takeaways, right? When you look at mobility, EAM, and the direction that SAP is going, right? What are some of the key takeaways that you can leverage as you plan out your mobile EAM strategy, right? first is adoption and usage, right? You could deploy any solution out there, but if your users don't like it, if it doesn't save them time, if it doesn't make them more productive, they're not going to use it. So user adoption is important. So focus on, the user experience side of things, right? Whether your users are going to like it. Is it running on devices that they like to use? Give them a tailored user experience, right? You have to, the ease of giving tailored user experience and responsiveness to meet user feedback matters. Because, when your users ask for a change, there's a reason, right? It's going to make them more effective, more productive. So that needs to be a focus. SAP Mobile Technology, this is our opinion here. We believe that it's matured with the SAP HANA Cloud Platform. The various connectivity layers, the IoT services, the predictive, the spatial, all that is being built on HANA Cloud Platform. And now is the right time to take advantage of all those tools that, from the SAP arsenal. Mobile EAM deployment timelines, right? It's been reduced. You don't longer have to run 6-month or year-long projects to deploy mobility. It's a matter of weeks, right? That's the instant time to market, instant digitization, leveraging SAP technology to go live, right? And then don't forget IoT when choosing a mobile solution for EAM, because it's important. Whether you like it or not, the IoT is going to be prevalent in the enterprise. Things are changing, so that has to be a consideration. Whatever solution you choose, look at the flexibility and the adaptability and the extensibility to incorporate the IoT framework within the application, right? Be it predictive data or control-driven access on mobile devices. All that is critical when choosing a mobile solution. Hope that was answered some of your reasons for joining the webinar. With that, come to the Q&A section of the webinar. So we have about almost 10 minutes left. So, and I have a few questions on my panel here. So I will quickly switch to here. The first one, and I think Sven, you can take this. So what are your thoughts on SAP EAM and GIS integration? So just a quick point here before Sven takes that question. If you have any questions that you would like answered, go ahead, type it into the webinar panel. There's a question and chat section, so you can type in your questions there, and we'd be more than happy to address them. So with that, Sven, what are your thoughts on SAP EAM and GIS integration?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sri. So both GIS and your business systems are large existing investments and workflows that are business system centric. So in this case, the maintenance workflows, I would argue, are business system centric. You would want to have a mobile solution that is primarily tethered to your business system, so you get the work history, etc., the work orders. But you also want to have the ability to draw in layers from your enterprise GIS to enrich the information that's presented to the user, and allow users to drive action off of perhaps your network connectivity model in a utility setting, or your road network with various signs in a public sector setting. For workflows that are more engineering centric, so earlier in the asset lifecycle process, when you are creating and building the assets, that's when the mobile solution is better tethered to a GIS. Esri, for example, has Esri Collector application that is quite good. But again, if you're talking about a business-centric workflow, you want to have a business system-centric mobile application that's able to seamlessly integrate and present information from GIS. In terms of our solution, we provide integration into Esri GIS systems using the Esri Runtime SDK. Critigen, our partner, has developed that solution for us. but we also have the ability to integrate into non-Esri GIS systems, be it GE Small World or Intergraph, and our partner WeDo IT has built a solution for that integration.
Great, thank you, Sven. I'll take next question from Paul. Do we need to be running SAP HANA to use this mobile platform and solution? The answer to that is no. There is no dependency or requirement on SAP HANA. It's your traditional SAP EAM plan maintenance system running on your legacy SAP database. So there's no dependency on SAP HANA database to run this application.
Yeah, one more comment on that. The SAP HANA Cloud Platform is of course a branded offering from SAP, and HANA is part of that brand. We use the mobile services that are part of that platform. These are the OData frameworks that we leverage. No data gets stored on the HANA Cloud Platform unless we're talking about IoT scenarios where some sensor information would be persisted in potentially a HANA database. And these same OData services that we use as part of the HANA Cloud Platform are also the technology components we utilize to provide an on-premise solution using the SAP Mobile Platform. What we do not use is the legacy agentry technology.
Thank you, Sven. So next question is from Luis. What are the on-premise technical landscape requirements for using RACE and the mWorkOrder app? Do we need SMP/Afaria? So the on-premise technical landscape is basically running on SAP Mobile Platform. So SMP 3.0 and NetWeaver Gateway is the landscape requirement. You do not need Afaria. Afaria is not a requirement, but it's important to understand that within the SMP landscape, we do not leverage the agentry platform. This is built on SAP's latest technology, which is OData. So it leverages OData and offline OData technologies to basically enable the application. So it's SMP 3.0, and it's leveraging the OData framework within SMP.
Right, and just one more comment there. So any ECC 6.0 backend system is supported. We provide a transport for your ECC system. It's in our own namespace, so it doesn't impact your production system. And then, as Sri said, that transport connects to SAP NetWeaver Gateway, and then we have either for on-premise deployment, the mobile infrastructure SMP, or if you want the cloud-based mobile infrastructure, you select HCP, and then we provide you with the IPA file for the mobile devices.
Great, thanks, Sven. So moving on, I have quite a few questions here on the offline features functionality of the application, right? So can we force sync or perform an ad hoc synchronization? Also, when a sync is performed, how can we control how data is downloaded to the device? Great question, and that is extremely important in from a performance point of view as well as the speed of use. So there's flexibility. So the performance tuning is all configurable. So you can decide whether you can force sync data from the backend to the device, or you can put in, enable a manual refresh, which is basically an ad hoc synchronization, so that the user can retrieve data. Maybe they're about to go, a place without a network, so they can, click on a download button to download the data to deliver the functions they're looking for. Also, how do you control how much data is downloaded on the device? So you can set performance thresholds on the size of the data pool and the volume of data pool. So you can, be it attachments, or you can give a size limit for attachments, or a file type for attachments, or you can say, you can control the master data that is synchronized. Maybe it's the last 30 days, or it is my most recent data, or if it's geographic based, if it's in the vicinity of the user. So you can control what data is synchronized from the backend to the application, and this is managed through the RACE platform. So again, it is fully configurable on how data is synchronized between SAP plant maintenance and the mobile device.
Yeah, and the configurability is really important, because what users may ask for today, they may change their mind based on actual usage in the field next week, and so the ability to kind of change that on the fly with RACE is really important. And the other comment I would make is online offline is not binary. We all know that we oftentimes have a weak signal where we are theoretically online, but we're not really in a position to transact in an online mode. And so with RACE, you're also able to set and change over time the threshold of what would constitute online versus offline. So for example, for some user groups, if I have a connection that is less than 1 megabit per second, you may consider me offline, even though I have a connection that just happens to be not strong enough where I want to be able to transact online.
Thank you, Sven. I have a few more questions, but unfortunately, in the essence of time, we might not be able to take those. But we'll make it a point to get back to each one of you that posed a question with specific answers. We will get back to you on that and reach out to you within the next 24 hours with the answers. With that, thank you. Thanks everyone for attending the webinar. Now I'll turn it over to Lisa to wrap things up.
Sven, Shri, thank you for your great insights. And with that, today's webinar comes to an end. Thank you all for attending. If you are interested in learning more on this topic, you can visit Innovapptive website or contact us directly via email or Twitter, and subscribe to the Innovapptive blog for the latest insight and news from our digital strategy experts.